You ever wonder what it really takes to run a legendary hotel? I mean, not just the day-to-day stuff, but the deep-down philosophy, right? The unwritten rules, the whole culture. Well, today, we're getting a super exclusive peek inside the Mürren Palace, way up in the Swiss Alps, by diving into its confidential staff handbook. So let's crack it open.
So the story kicks off in a place they call the cradle of alpine skiing. Seriously. Mürren was this playground for these super daring British pioneers back at the turn of the 20th century. And right in the middle of it all, the Mürren Palace. It was the grand centerpiece, and get this, it's the oldest palace hotel in all of Switzerland.
Okay, so that's the legend, right? But here's the twist. The palace actually lay dormant, just empty, for over a decade before reopening its doors in 2024. And that brings us to the big question, the reason we're here. What's it really like for the staff behind that five-star facade? Well, lucky for us, the answers are all right here, in this handbook.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the hotel's dramatic rebirth. Then, what life is like at 1,650 meters. After that, we'll dive into the official palace code, check out the perks of the job, and finally, we'll get into the all-important fine print.
Okay, first up, a palace reborn. Because, to really get the rules they have today, you've got to understand the hotel's wild journey. We're talking from a total VIP hotspot to a decade of just silence, and then boom, back to life.
This hotel story is just a total roller coaster. It was founded way back in 1874, and it was the place to be, the absolute center of the universe for the rich and famous. But then, by the 1930s, the VIP crowd kind of drifted off to flashier places like St. Moritz, and eventually the palace just fell quiet. It sat empty for more than 10 years before its huge reopening in 2024.
And this comeback isn't just about unlocking the doors. It comes with a whole new philosophy. The handbook says the mission is to provide alpine joie de vivre, which is basically just a joy for living. The focus has totally shifted from that old stuffy vibe to a real, genuine love for the mountains. And this is so important. They're basically asking their staff to help build this atmosphere of real connection, where friendship and sport are way more important than someone's status.
But of course, delivering that joy for living isn't exactly a walk in the park. It all starts with the reality of living and working at 1,650 meters in a village with absolutely no cars.
I mean, just think about it. Just getting to work is an adventure in itself. You have to leave your car way down in the valley and then take this whole combination of gondolas, trains, maybe a cable car, just to get up to the village. So it's not really a commute, is it? It's more like this daily reminder that you're part of this really remote, super tight-knit community.
And this is where the handbook gets surprisingly practical. It's honestly less like a corporate HR manual and more like a welcome to the village guide from a local. It has tips on everything, from how to return plastic bottles to using these special bags for trash pickup, which only happens twice a week. It's just such a clear sign of how completely intertwined your work and your life become in a place like Mürren.
Okay, now we're getting to the real heart of it all, the Mürren Palace Code. These are the specific rules and expectations that every single employee has to live by to keep those legendary standards alive.
You can learn a lot just by looking at the uniform code. I mean, some of it is pretty standard stuff, right? Like employees have to buy their own black trousers. But it's the little details that really tell the story. Take the name badge. It has to be worn on the left side of the chest because that's the side near the heart, and it's meant to symbolize hospitality. See? That's not just a rule, it's a whole philosophy. Oh, and that 150 Swiss franc deposit, that's just to make sure every single item is returned in perfect shape.
And when it comes to being on time, whoa, the handbook does not mess around. It's literally in all caps. The standard isn't just showing up on time, it's being 5 minutes ahead of time, every time. It's all about making sure there's a perfect, seamless handover between shifts. You can't get much clearer than that, can you? Okay, but it's not all just high expectations and strict rules. That stuff is balanced with some pretty sweet rewards. The handbook calls them the perks of the peak for being part of the team. So, the first big one is a really generous discount. How generous? 50%. Staff can get their friends and family a 50% discount on rooms, as long as they're available. That's a huge benefit, and it's a great way for employees to share the magic of the place and kind of be proud ambassadors. Next up, to really help the staff get into that whole alpine lifestyle, the hotel has 3 shared memberships for the local Alpine Sports Center.
This is actually pretty smart. It's a way to give everyone a really valuable perk. We're talking pool, gym, and spa access, and it means that up to 3 people from the team can be using the facilities at any given time.
And finally, there's this really practical perk that's just a nod to modern life. The hotel actually chips in 20 Swiss francs a month for every employee's mobile phone subscription. It might not sound like a ton of money, but it's a really great acknowledgement that, hey, even at 1650 meters up a mountain, being connected is absolutely essential.
All right, last but not least, let's get into the fine print. This is where we see how that whole philosophy of precision and detail really plays out in the day-to-day work. The way they handle breaks is a perfect example. It's all about efficiency. So for meal breaks, the time is automatically deducted from your hours. You don't even have to clock out. But for smoking breaks, it's a different story. You have to clock out, go to a special staff exit, and then clock back in. It's a system that's all about precision and making sure everything is accounted for.
And the handbook is incredibly clear and tough when it comes to safety and respect. There's an absolute zero-tolerance policy for things like theft or drug and alcohol abuse. That's an immediate dismissal. Same for sexual assault, never tolerated, immediate dismissal. For bullying, you get one written warning and that's it. The lines are drawn really, really clearly to protect everyone, both the staff and the guests.
So after flipping through this handbook, we're left with a much bigger question, aren't we? The Mürren Palace, it demands a lot. Precision, being early, a real commitment to this unique way of life. But in return, it offers something pretty incredible. A life that's deeply connected to a team, to a historic place, and to the absolutely stunning nature of the Alps. You know, in a world that's so obsessed with work-life balance, this place kind of challenges us to think about it differently. It makes you wonder, what if the perfect balance isn't about keeping work and life separate, but about weaving them together in a more meaningful way? Maybe, just maybe, you can find that at 1650 meters.